Hello and a very warm welcome to everyone joining this live webinar with CRN on the Channel Awards. I'm Nima Sherpa-Green, I'm the EMEA Editorial Director. And over the next half an hour, we're going to get you to this outcome, to the best possible chance of having a winning entry in the Channel Awards. Now, joining me are Sarah Yirrell, who's the consulting editor at CRN, absolutely key and at the heart of the Channel Awards and has been for almost 2 decades. She has a lot of experience and insights to share, and you'll hear from her shortly. And we also have 3 of the, I believe, 26 industry judges joining us today. Really sincere thank you for your time for this. We've got Bruce, who I think has been doing this for at least 16 years, Sandrine, 10 plus years, and with Angela, we have some fresh eyes. So I think this is your second year as a judge on these awards. Stay with us all through to the end, and you're going to end up learning what is the process right from the entry, right from the start, some myth busting, and really valuable behind the scenes insights into the minds of these judges of what they're looking for, and perhaps some bugbears as well that you should definitely make sure you avoid. So Sarah, I'm going to start with you. I'm putting myself into the shoes of someone who's about to do an entry for the Channel Awards. Obviously, there are a lot out there now. So can you articulate what is different about the Channel Awards, how you think about them, why they're useful to the channel?
Sure. Thanks, Nima. Well, for a start, the Channel Awards are now in their 33rd year, and I don't think there's many awards out there that have been going that long. So the longevity of them proves that they are valuable to the industry. The other thing that makes them stand out is the fact that the judging process is 100% independent. It's got nothing to do with who sponsors what, who spends the most money. We've got a group of judges, as you've just explained, that are fully independent. They've been fully engaged with the process for multiple years, and they take it very seriously. And they want to keep the process as independent as possible. So this means when you actually get shortlisted or you win, it really means that you've gone through a rigorous judging process and you've had every part of your entry scrutinized by these brilliant panel of people. It's also different because we have 2 judging stages. We have a shortlist stage, and then we have the winners stage. So we've got 2 different panels of judges that will look through these entries. And on the second stage, we have 6 categories where people have to come in to present. So not everyone does, but those 6 categories is a real battle of the giants. And we see some fantastic presentations going on during the actual judging day. And it really means something to them that they send in their most senior people and they take it very, very seriously. So that's what makes them stand out, in my opinion. And they seem to mean something. They've been going for this long, so I can't argue with that.
Thank you, Sarah. Obviously, longevity is a really big thing. I know that there are quite a few people who give feedback to us in the newsroom that when they first entered the channel, they saw these awards, and then when they finally kind of rise through the ranks and they end up winning it, it means so much because they've known it right from the start of their career. Talking about that longevity, I'm going to go to Bruce first to give your view on, as an industry judge, I'm sure if the viewers aren't already aware, this is a big amount of time that you're giving out of your business, out of your personal life to be a judge. What is important to you to be involved into the Channel Awards?
Yeah, you're right. It does take a lot of time, not out of our business time, however, but mainly out of our personal time. We get to rate these awards through many evenings, some categories, 50, 60, 70 different entries. For me, it's really important to be part of it. Like I mentioned, I've been part of it for 16 years. It's great to see the changes that have happened over that time. When I first started doing these awards, it was all very much, plain text on a website, and that's how you go and rate it. Now people are doing videos and PDFs and infographics and all these sort of stuff, and always looking for ways to differentiate their entries. So for me, at a personal level, I feel buoyed by participating in it. I love seeing the changes that we've seen in the industry, and the connections that we as judges make with those people that are presenting. We see people come back year after year trying to win these awards because, like you said, they do take it very seriously, and that's good. And at the end of the day, it's something that they can leverage in terms of their communication with their customers and with their partners as well. Certainly from my perspective, I've seen that with one of the winners from 2 years ago. They present their CRN award on practically every LinkedIn conversation that they have. They say they're a CRN award winner. So it means so much to so many people, and that's really great to be part of.
Definitely see those assets as well as a point of pride. Sometimes when I'm going out and about doing interviews in person at people's offices, I can see their channel award kind of a pride and place near the reception. I do want to make sure to ask you, because you've got this breadth of experience being a judge, I'm sure you've seen it all, right? So what is it that really makes an entry stand out to you?
It's interesting because it isn't necessarily about how differentiated people make it, because ultimately that allows you to stand out. It allows you to be slightly different. That might be because you've put a video together, but it isn't that actually wins. It's the accuracy and the validity of the entry, really taking into account what's been asked of you, responding to the questions that are asked in a way that you can qualify and quantify. It doesn't matter if you do the craziest video on earth that everyone finds hilarious. If you don't answer the question and you don't state the value, then you don't get a good result. But it is that differentiation that helps you maybe gain that extra half point that can take you from someone that's highly commended to a winner. So I would always say that regardless of how wacky you want to make your entries, and they're all welcome and they're all great, please make sure you stick to the key things that are important. Answer the questions, be structured in how you answer them, and really make sure that you validate and make it quantifiable your successes. Because the amount of times people go, we've had a great year, then don't go and tell you about how great it's been, or that they don't show that progression, that jump. That can become quite frustrating as well. So, please stick to the things that are important, but use your nous a little bit, I kind of guess, and use your imagination to rise above the parapet and make that entry a little bit more compelling.
Absolutely. The need for stats and that kind of quantifiable data to back it up, but also a bit of personality as well is always welcome as a judge. Sandra, can I come to you next? Because you've also been doing this for over a decade. Do you have a different view? Is there anything else that you would like to share for what is really important that people need to keep in mind when they are submitting an entry?
I agree with everything that Bruce said. I think looking at the process, it's really important. So you're effectively writing a document or creating a video or some sort of format to deliver details of your business as eloquently and rapidly as possible to an individual, whether it be myself, Sarah, Angela, Bruce, any of the other judges. And in my instance and in Sarah's instance, we're looking at hundreds of these, right? So I'm involved in the shortlist, and for the shortlist, I might have 70 or 80 applications for a single topic. And normally we will shrink that down to something that's consumable for the judges to deliver on, but we have to go through everything in minute detail. And I think that there are certain points that will jump out and make you original, but there are other things that will distract from maybe an amazing submission. So as Bruce said, you have to be honest, you have to be accurate, you have to be specific. Critical for me is if you've got a set of questions for a particular topic, you need to address every single question with an answer. And being honest, if they ask you what your favorite color is for a particular subject and you don't bother or you miss putting in a color, then you've probably lost a point. So now if you're scored out of 10, you're now scored out of 9. And some of these things are qualifiable and some of them are quantifiable, but all you needed to say was yellow or black or pink, and you would have got that point. And there are a lot of aspects within a submission that are that simple. So So that first bit is really key. For the second phase, you need to differentiate. And last year, I had one submission that was quite literally just a text, black text on a white piece of paper. However, you might think when you're up against videos and infographics and detailed documentation that that's just going to lose you. It's not of interest, or it's not going to get any engagement at all. But from judges who are looking at 200 of these or 100 of them, actually that's different enough and it's easy to consume. And they had all the salient points in the right area, and that went on to win. So it being unique doesn't have to be outrageous. It needs to be on point. So hopefully that's useful.
I really agree. I'm part of the shortlisting process for a couple of awards, and I really see that too. Sometimes there's perhaps a perspective maybe from their marketing teams as well that submissions have to be quite jazzy, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's got to be really clear, and it's got to be something that is, as you say, salient. All the questions that are being answered, and you don't need to rewrite the whole history of the company to be really impactful. Yeah,
absolutely. You also have to consider that this might be number 50 out of 50 that they've read in one 4-hour stint on a train to somewhere, and so you've got to be aware of that and work out how you can get mindshare.
Absolutely.
And there's
Angela?
there's some really obvious other things as well. Things like it's the UK Channel Awards. To talk about things that are UK based and the channel based. So many times they'll go, "Oh, we've done a great number across Europe this year." I'm like, "Great. What's the UK number? How well have you done here?" These are the awards you're entering. And it's not about your direct business if you've gotten here, it's about your channel business, so focus on that. Sorry, Angela.
No, 100%. Angela, coming to you, of course, you are that kind of fresh eyes in this particular panel, in this webinar as a judge. Is there anything that stands out to you as being really important for an entry to those who are so keen to be successful and to try and win an award?
So, I mean, I agree with all the comments that have been made by my judging colleagues, that it's got to be really specific. It's got to tell of your company journey and your company culture, which I think is what's really important in all of the winners. There's a strong cultural message around how they've achieved the results that they've achieved. And I think a lot of that comes from, rather than it being a marketing exercise, it's actually top to bottom. So where senior leadership are involved in the messaging and are key to the submission, that's where you really see some winning entries come across, and particularly when you get into the later stages where companies have to present, having that leadership, that thought leadership and guidance from the senior teams makes all the difference. I have to say, though, I do like the wacky videos, because it tells, when you've got a unique company story to tell, having a unique way of telling it can be really powerful. So I have to confess, I do like some of the wacky videos, as long as, to the points that have been made, they tell the story and they include all of the key facts.
I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, Angela, if I may, because you are the newest judge on this panel. Was there anything that kind of surprised you about being a judge? Maybe something that you didn't know was part of the judging process before you joined?
It's a long process. So if you think it's just going to be, a quick, read a couple of documents and then that's it, that's not it. I was semi-prepared because I'd done judging on the Women in Channel Awards before, which is equally as detailed and and time consuming, but also very, I can't get my words out today, rewarding as well. So I think that's the big thing, but it's the time and effort and passion that companies put into it. That's the bit that I really enjoy.
And I hope that really comes across as well to audience watching now and on demand, is that no one is involved in these awards without truly, really caring about them, because they take so much time and it is a labor of love. But it's so valuable and it is so rewarding when you see people tell amazing stories. Obviously for me, I'm a journalist and I love really great storytelling, and it's so inspiring to see in the Channel Awards a sense of the health of the channel, the successes of the channel over the year that you just read in these stories. So those are a lot of the positive things. I do think it's genuinely useful for the audience to now not just hear the good, but hear some of the bugbears, the things to really avoid. Just choosing, I'm going to go to Sandrine first. If you could give advice to someone who's considering an entry now, what should they make sure they do not do?
So this sometimes changes year on year. So read the instructions first and the rule sets. So if it says X number of words, make sure you keep to X number of words. If it tells you that a video can be Y number of minutes, make sure you keep to that. And I'll be brutally honest with you, I'm a stickler. So if I'm told it's a 5-minute video, at 5 minutes, I turn it off. So if you haven't answered all of the points, you've lost out, and you might have an amazing additional 15 minutes, but no one's going to hear it. Same goes, just so you're aware, when you get the opportunity to present, if you do. Angela and Bruce are not in my group, but I run a pretty tight ship. I think it's the fairest way of doing it. You have a time to present, which is very specific. If you haven't finished, we stop you. Then there are Q&A. If you haven't finished, we stop you. It is the fairest, most just, honourable way of doing it. So that really matters to me. And I think that kind of trying to bend the rules, you're not ever going to be successful. And actually, it becomes fairly obvious when you're doing dozens, hundreds of these that you have done. The last thing for me last year was we really saw an impact with AI. So people using AI to write or to create context. That honestly is unlikely to be successful. I understand there's a value in it, and if you're getting it to spell check, that's what I do, right? I use AI regularly, but if you get an AI agent to write your entire submission, you're probably not even going to be shortlisted. So I would just say that those are the top level things, but I have a list as long as my arm if you have another 3 hours.
Okay, well, I might come back to you on that, Ben. But let's give someone else also a chance. So Bruce, as well for you, are there things that people should really avoid doing, or even like a mindset to avoid when coming to these awards that might be quite helpful for the audience to know?
I think you mentioned the term bugbears earlier. Here are mine. Somebody submits a video and it says video entry to UK Channel Awards as the first thing, and then the remaining 6 minutes of their corporate video that has got nothing to do with the UK Channel Awards. We're forced to kind of sit through it, and we're like going, they haven't put any effort in here. They've just front-ended something else. If you're going to do a video, make it unique, make it different, make it relevant, and that's going to engage the judging audience. That's the first one. Putting in 10 lots of submission fillers for case studies. One case study is good enough. A validation of your success. Make it relevant. Don't fill out with 10 different attachments that we've all got to read that take that 1,000-word limit over 10,000 words. It's no good for us. We don't read it, and in fact, we mark you down because of it. And AI started to come in. If we see a long dash, that's the precursor to us kind of switching off and going, you haven't put the effort in. So yeah, there are absolutely loads of bugbears that sit there, but those are the obvious ones to me. People trying not to put the effort in and trying to fill out, because judging's time is given because we want to learn, given because we want to enjoy the process. And when it's not enjoyable because people haven't put the effort in the right way, then that grates a little bit. So, those are certainly some of the things I pick up.
I really agree on the corporate video as a bugbear. Yeah, that's got to stop. I really, really strongly, quite passionately believe in that, because it's giving an indication straight away to the judges that there isn't something related to the award and the category that you're entering. So yeah, I would really second that quite strongly. I can see your hand up there, Sandra.
I'll just say, on videos, production is the least relevant aspect. We've had amazing videos. There was one a couple of years ago where it was outside of COVID and lockdown, and one of the people did a video on a phone with chickens behind them, and it was just brilliant. The detail was amazing. We're not going to care if there's, your hair isn't done and you're not in a studio. It's the content that's king there, and actually it makes it more interesting to watch.
I agree. It's the substance, not the style on the videos, 100%. Angela, for you, is there anything in particular that you have as well to add that I just don't want to see this in an entry when I'm doing my judging?
Pages of just, for me particularly, just pages of filler text that you've got to really, that's really hard work to go through and find the salient points around your performance, your achievements, and the facts that are really key. If all you see is just, pages and pages of words, it can be, quite difficult to digest. And then the other thing is companies who are putting in multiple submissions for different categories and use the same, they basically use the same submission.
Totally, yeah.
Doesn't really, it might fit in one, fit in another. And that's then it's just, well, I'm just going to spread my bets and just throw the same thing out there. You should, do one and do one really well, rather than trying to do half a dozen, because it does come out, you don't just judge one category, you judge multiple categories. And I think, Bruce, you made the point earlier, the UK awards, make sure that your submission is relevant to the UK. I'm sure there are people in other countries who are really jealous of what we have here, but I'm afraid it's just not for you.
Agree. And Angela, you got the most visible, almost visceral reaction from everyone on your bugbears there. Yeah, really, really agree. We actually only have 7-8 minutes left of this webinar, and I know it's a minority of people do go to the presentation stage, but I think a lot of people don't really know before they get into it what's involved. So Sarah, can I come to you, and can you give a bit of more detail of what people can expect with that process?
Yeah, so as I said, there's 6 categories, I think, in total that are presented. So that's spread across the reseller, distributor and vendor categories. And basically they've got, I think it's 10 minutes in total with the judges, correct me if I'm wrong, which is made up of a presentation, and then there's a Q&A with the judges at the end of that. So we kind of advise, go for 7 minutes presentation and maybe leave couple of minutes for the Q&A. Send the most senior person you can, because that shows how much it means to you. Everyone does, to be fair. I don't think there's many that wouldn't do that. And we've seen some really interesting people come in and get very nervous beforehand, which is quite interesting to see. But yeah, it's the key for that is you've already put a submission in, so the judges have read that. And while it's good to reiterate what you've said in that entry, try and differentiate a bit more in your presentation. So just give a bit more information, give some more stats, just try and move on from your original entry while keeping your original entry, front and foremost. But I think if you just go in and say the same old thing, it doesn't really make you stand out from the others, because, some people go to a lot of effort to really stand out at that presentation stage. So that would be my key advice for that one.
Thank you. Sandra, do you have anything else to add? Because I think they're involved in the presentations, or is it Bruce?
We all are.
We all are. So, is there anything else that you guys would like to add then for a successful presentation?
Yeah, I would say keep it human. They're the ones that have been most successful over the years, recent years, while we've done this. Don't fill it out with too much. Take a few key points that really would resonate with the judging audience. Keep it human. Whatever you do, don't stand up, say hi, and put a video on, because that happens a lot, and it takes up a lot of your time to present your uniqueness and value. And sometimes it goes wrong because the sound doesn't work. So please bear that in mind. Unless you've got something that can only be delivered by video, maybe you've got a particular project about delivering water to wells in Namibia that was a channel project. Great, love to hear about it. Keep it short, and it's important in terms of your differentiation. But just be you. That nervousness that comes across is great. Don't worry about that. Just deliver your uniqueness to the audience, and that's really what we want.
Thank you, Bruce. Any other points on the presentation?
I would just, everyone accepts that if this is really important to you, you are going to be nervous. So, we all understand that and are hugely sympathetic. I remember having to do it myself many, many years back when I was at a vendor. And it isn't really, even though you've done presentations, all your life, it's quite daunting. And I would say the other thing is, remember that it's all about people. So facts and figures are great, but let some of your company personality come through, and that's all about the people and the achievements and other things that you do to give back to the community. They're also really key.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I've got a lot on this, but I'll be very quick. So I completely agree. Don't do videos. I would say they're going to take up too much time. You do need to have some form of presentation, but it doesn't have to be digital. It can be a flip book or something that you want to deliver in that way. Anything that you're going to show, no matter how commendable it is, needs to be aligned with the channel and the UK channel. I think that bringing in a senior person is great, but also having people who've got feet on the street and are actually doers can bring a lot of validity to a presentation. We all understand about nervousness, but we're up against a clock, and we certainly have all been there in some way, shape or form. So if it goes completely wrong, then you can pause, take a minute, and we'll all understand. But the most important thing for me is it's unlikely that you're ever going to lose an award group. It is more likely that someone else is going to win it. And if you think about that, where people say, I did an amazing submission and I did a brilliant presentation and I didn't win, what the heck's going on? The reason is that someone blew us away. They're original. They gave all the information. It was delivered in an eloquent and an applicable manner, and they won. And we regularly get it where there'll be 3 or 4 companies who have equal points, inverted commas, for their submissions. They walk in and someone loses, someone else loses, and someone else smashes it out the park and they win. And that is a really important thing to understand, because that's how these things change and balance throughout the day. And it's a very long day for the judges, so they're looking for that special something that they remember, and the decision's made on the day.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm glad I asked questions about the presentations, even for myself. That was really, really interesting to hear, and that moment in time on the day. We're coming towards the close of the webinar, and in a moment, I'm going to ask each of you for your parting one top piece of advice to people putting in an entry. But before I do, I just want to make sure I flag for everyone that the deadline for this year is the 26th of June. So make sure you get your entries in before then. For me and the editorial team, we're going to be sharing more of the stories of what it means to be a winner. So we have some great stories that we have heard over the years of individuals and of their companies who have been changed and shaped as a result of winning these awards. So make sure you look out for that. But I will absolutely give the final word to each of our industry judges. Start with you. What's your one top takeaway for people who want to enter an award this year?
Did you say me? Because it cracked up at the time.
Sorry, are you there?
Me? Yeah, sorry, I didn't hear you.
If you lost me, I was going to say, I'm going to start with you, Sarah. What's your top piece of advice, your final top piece of advice?
Joy of being live. I would just say read the criteria. As everyone said, keep it human. We're a people-based industry, so it's all about people. And just make sure you've got. Sorry, this is more than one point, isn't it? But make sure you have testimonials, because they're really important. You need people to validate what you're saying, and above all, just enjoy it.
Absolutely, thank you, Angela. Can I come to you next? What's your top piece of advice?
Same thing, enjoy it, right? It should be fun and enjoyable. I know it's really important, and people are passionate about these awards, but enjoy it.
Thank you. Sandra, and you next.
Yeah, it's got to be interesting, and as they both said, enjoyable. We don't do this because we're paid. We do this because we enjoy it. And so the better the submission that aligns with that, the higher you're going to score and the more likely you are to win.
Yes. And finally, Bruce.
Back everything up with numbers. Validate what you've done. If you say you've had a good year, how good a year? It's those numbers that stand out when you're reading through all of these things, and there's words that just hit you, and you're looking for that little bit of differentiation, and there's no numbers there. That's not going to win. If you make a statement, back it up, and that's really super important in terms of having a great entry.
Thank you. Thank you to each of the speakers in this webinar. Thank you to the audience for watching. Remember, it's the 26th of June, 2026. That is this year's deadline. All of us as judges look forward to reading your entries. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Bye.